Hey everybody, for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest and welcome to It's Go Time. Now before we get going, I'm going to ask if all of you can stay off of this raised up stage area here. This way nobody blocks this big display behind me and gives me a little room to move around, do the whole hosting thing, right? Now if I can direct your attention to your menu wheel in your lower left, you're going to notice at the very top of that menu wheel is a microphone icon. When that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear you and everything that's happening in your environment, right? So we've gone ahead, we've turned that to red for you. And what this does is essentially means that you're muted. So if somebody comes into your space and says, hey, are you still on that thing? Feel free to answer them because we're not going to hear that. Likewise, if maybe you got a dog barking in the background or something like that, we're not going to hear that. You're not going to face social ruin back at the campfire by becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during It's Go Time, right? Now, just because you're muted does not mean you can't participate. You're going to notice in your menu wheel, there's a pink cheek smiley face emoji. And when you click on that, your emoji panel is going to open up and it's going to offer you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. So if I say something deep, something meaningful, something powerful, and you feel it building up inside you, you can just let it out, let it flow, show love just like that. Maybe I got some backup dancers backstage, right? And they come on out and we go, start performing It's Go Time the musical, and you're all very impressed. You can throw up the applause that I live for, just like that, right? And take a moment, drink that in because it feels good, right? Now also, you can say yes by smiling like this. You can say no by frowning like this. You can show me you're laughing by doing this silly face emoji here, right? Also, there is this. All right, now when you do this, you're not asking a question. You're letting me know that there's something wrong, something that needs my attention right away. Like right now, maybe Ufogard is telling me that the display behind me is going on fire because my mods have turned against me. That's been known to happen, right? Or maybe I'm moving my arms around like this and nobody's hearing me. Now, if I see one hand go up like that, I'm just going to keep on going. But if I see five going up at one time, I know there's a problem that I'm going to need to address, right? There's also an Exodus emoji panel that's going to close it, get rid of it for you. But it's a good idea to leave it open during events like this because it, gives me some feedback. It lets me know how I'm doing. But more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing. So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they find something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, cool, that's not funny at all. No, I'm going to go stand over here. And you can do that because this is VR. Right? Now, Go Time is an event for Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful information that's going to help the Go community in Altspace because there are a lot of Go users in Altspace and there are more arriving each and every day. All right, now let's see here. When I first got started out here, my place entirely. Here we go. All right, now being on an Oculus Go in Altspace is not without its challenges. All right, and speaking of challenges, I've been in a bed for about the past 2 years due to a medical condition. It's gotten a lot better. But when I first got my headset, I couldn't wait to get in here. Right? You guys remember that feeling when you first put on a VR headset? That feeling of being transported to another world? Everybody remember what that felt like? Right? Amazing. So I was really psyched for that. And I've been reading about Altspace for a while. So, I couldn't wait to get in here. This was my first stop. And I stepped out of the load screen for the very first time. And the very first thing I did was I looked up. Right? And I looked at the sky. And that sky, it looked a lot like what I remember a real sky looking like. And I was grateful. I was so grateful that I started volunteering for Altspace that first day. Right? And what happened was, I call out to be a moderator. I try to help out with events and stuff. But I found that my battery wasn't lasting. I couldn't make it through entire events. My battery would die, and then I'd have to charge up, worrying that I didn't come through for them, and I'd have to come back into Altspace once I got the charger, and I try to track down the host, and and apologize for flanking out on them. So I got off to kind of a rocky start in here. And what I did was I started asking around, how can I improve the performance of my device? How can I make it better? Right? I started asking those kind of questions, and the answers to those questions led to this event. Right? Because I learned some stuff. But in the beginning, I heard a lot of misinformation. Like I heard, for example, that I wouldn't be able to work this laser pointer on Oculus Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. These slides behind me, right? I was told that I wouldn't be able to work these slides here. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. And I was also told that despite having a background presenting material like this in the real world, I was told that my device wasn't reliable enough for me to host events. You know what? That turned out to not be true. I ended up putting on a lot of events in Altspace, and I started out on an Oculus Go. And a lot of those events that I did, I think, over 150 on an Oculus Go, something like that, different events in Altspace, and I did a pretty good job. So that turned out to not be true also. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean there aren't problems being on the go. There are, all right? And most of these problems can be solved, and the ones that you can't solve, they can at least be managed. There's two routes that you can take to do this. The first is to start with the device that you already have on your head. We're gonna, wow, everyone's standing like very organized. I feel like I'm addressing the troops here. I'm like, all right, everybody, we're going to descend on a campfire and we're going to show them what's what. All right. But yeah, there's two routes you can take. You can work with the device that you already have in your head. You're going to learn some stuff here today that's going to vastly improve your experience before you even leave. You're also, you have the option to to upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And I say it like that because those of you who have been here before, I can't stand that term, right? You see it all over Discord too. You'll see things like inferior device, weaker device, right? And it doesn't feel good to hear that stuff because it's not true, right? The Oculus Go is a wonderful device. It's a great entry level into VR. It's a great way to get started. Listen, I'm on a Quest now, but if I started out on a Quest, I would not have stayed. On an Oculus Go, you don't have to worry about the vertical movement, right? That can make you feel a lot more stable. In VR, also, you don't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers. It allows you to get used to VR at your own pace, all right? And, now that doesn't mean like there aren't problems in here. There are, and we're going to go over that. But speaking of the so-called limitations of your device, you have to remember something. If you hear terms like this, right, it doesn't feel good. If somebody tells you every single day that they hate your shirt, you're going to start thinking, you know what? It's not the shirt they don't like, right? And what's going to happen is if you hear this again and again and again, I want you to keep something in mind, right? There's another term that gets thrown around Altspace an awful lot, and that's communities. There's a lot of diverse communities in Altspace, and what you can do is just remember that your headset is just a vehicle that brings you into VR. You are the important part of that equation. You are not your device any more than you are your house or your car. All right. So if you hear terms like that, just try to keep that in mind. All right. And let's start out with the device that you already have on your head. You have to remember that your device loses power even when it's not in use. So if you go to bed and you leave it on a table there and it's got 100% charge, by morning it's going to have less of a charge. And the reason for this is because during the night it's looking for app updates, it's looking for firmware updates. Maybe your pen pal's got maybe your headset's got a pen pal on the other side of the world, or maybe it's got a whole secret life that you don't know anything about, right? Maybe it's a superhero at night. It's bringing just VR. You don't know, right? You think that is Flips. Flips just came in. Hey Flips, how's it going? All right. What do you call that? So yeah, let's see here. I lost my place because Flips came in. Look at that. But you want to come into Altspace on a full charge. So if you're looking at the event schedule, right, you see what's coming up and you see, oh, Go Time's coming up tonight. Oh, wow, I've heard good things about Post. I've heard he's got this hair and he's got this shirt you're starting to see everywhere. It's got a bullseye on the front and it's got one on the back too. And you're going to come in and see it. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your device is fully charged before you come in. So about an hour before the event starts, make sure you plug that device in, get it up to 100% when you come in. Because if you come into Altspace with, like, say, a 20% battery charge, you might find that your screen is going to flicker around a lot. And actually, Tom, what we mentioned earlier, that also might be part of the problem. Make sure that the device is fully topped off, okay? That might be one of the issues that's going on there. But yeah, so you want to make sure that you're fully charged, right? And when you first get the headset on, the very first thing you want to do, all right, is that center button that you press to turn the device on? You're going to want to press and hold down that power button, right? When you press and hold that down for about 3 or 4 seconds, you're going to have these 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you. That middle button is the restart button, and when you press that, your device is going to restart, and this is going to clear out all the temporary files. Maybe it's got a draft of that pen pal letter it was working on, and this is going to reset all those things. And so now I like to think of it as clearing your mind before you come into Altspace, right? And now you go into the load screen, you come out in Altspace, and you may have noticed what an important role body language plays in Altspace. So people could say an awful lot without saying anything at all. Like when Flips came in, he waved at me, and he spun around, right? He made a big entrance, right? And he didn't say a word. Right? Or for example, maybe you're in an event like this and a moderator comes up to you and they shake your head slowly back and forth like this, right? And that means don't do that thing that you're doing, right? Or maybe somebody makes it up on the stage and I go like this and I'm waving my hand like this without me saying a word. This means get off my stage, right? But occasionally in Altspace, you're going to notice that your hand, your real world hand might be here, or your avatar's hand might be way up here. Right, so when I go to wave somebody off the stage like this, what everyone's going to see is my hand going back and forth like this, and it looks like I'm saying, "Hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time." And I'm not saying that, right? I'm saying stay off the stage. It's a dangerous place. You can get hurt. We don't want to see that happen. All right. So but what can you do when this happens to you? All right, you're going to notice on your controller, you have your trackpad, and below that you have a button, and below that you have a button. Don't press that bottom button now, because that's like an eject button. That's like the fastest way out of Altspace. And when you press it, you can have an option to quit or resume. So if you press it by accident, you can hit resume, and you'll find yourself right back in Altspace. So if you're dancing around the Universe and you accidentally slip and hit that button, right? You can just hit that resume button, and you'll come right back in. You'll be dancing around going, "I don't think anybody saw that. All right, I'm good. All right, cool." And so that's what you can do. But this button does something else. If you look straight ahead, and this you can do now, if you look straight ahead and you hold that bottom button down and don't let go, right? While holding your arm, like, bend your elbow, hold your arm at your side, look straight ahead, press and hold that button for about 3 seconds. You're going to see a white circle spin in the air in front of you, and then your hand is going to snap into place. And when it does, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? If it is, then you're good, right? You'll be comfortable. If it's not, then do it again as many times as it takes till you feel comfortable, because only you can determine what's comfortable for you. But that'll help a lot with that. Now, occasionally, you're going to notice in Altspace that your menu wheel, those collections of circles on your lower left, you're going to notice that they move around from time to time, right? Sometimes they can move in places that are pretty hard to reach, like maybe they move behind you, and you're like, how am I going to get my menu open now? I'm stuck. What do I do? Or maybe it's gone directly in front of you and you feel like you're going to trip over it. Maybe it makes you feel a little bit off balance. What do? Well, what you can do is you got to remember something, that your menu is in your hands at all times. You don't always have to press that blue and white triangle button. It's right on your controller. Just below the trackpad, you're going to find that there's a button there. That's the middle button. You press that middle button down there one time quickly, and you're going to notice that your main menu opens up right in front of you, right? And if you press it again, that menu is going to close. And if you're looking straight ahead when you do this, when you come out of that menu, you're going to notice that your menu wheel, that collection of circles, your emoji panel, all that stuff is right back where it belongs on your lower left side. All right, so that'll help a lot with that if that moves around on you. All right, now another thing, one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was losing my battery power in the beginning is somebody told me to turn down my brightness. Now, I did not want to do it. I want to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace. And to me, that meant having my graphics, my brightness turned way up to retina burning levels. I mean, it was painful, but my graphics were awesome. Or so I thought, right? So what I did was I was desperate to get my battery, to last longer so I'd make it through entire events. So reluctantly, I went to the Altspace, I went to the Oculus main menu there, and down in the lower right where it says settings, I pressed on that, and then right in the middle where it says brightness, I opened that up, and I turned off the auto brightness, and there was this big blue bar there, and every time I came into Altspace, I turned that bar down a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until finally that blue was completely gone, and my brightness was completely off, and I came into Altspace, and I could not believe what I saw. I came into an event that I used to help moderate for, and in that space, there was a tree off in the corner where all the moderators would hang out before the event started, and I'm walking on over to that tree, and all of a sudden I stopped, and I looked up at the tree, and I couldn't believe it. That tree looked more realistic than I'd ever seen it before. The graphics actually got better. So if you turn down your brightness, you're going to enjoy better graphics, you're going to enjoy better performance on your device, and most importantly, your battery is going to last longer. All right, so it's a good thing to do. There's no reason not to do that. All right, and if you're making a big jump, like say you're starting out from like 75% brightness and you turn it all the way off, it may take you a few minutes to get used to it, but it's absolutely worth doing, all right, because your graphics will be better. All right, now, around the time I solved that, right, I became aware of, how Go users kind of had a bad reputation in Altspace. And the reason for this is because the microphone on the Oculus Go is very powerful. It's very strong. It's very sensitive. And when the sound comes out of your ear straps, it's picked up by the microphone and it's projected out into Altspace, right? And you know what? We don't know what we sound like in Altspace, right? I was performing and hosting for months before I knew what I sounded like. I only found out what I sounded like in Altspace when we got our YouTube channel. If you look up there and you see Raven and I floating in the air, that's our YouTube camera. If you want to turn around and you want to wave out to YouTube, like, hey, YouTube, how's it going? We got Brover right here in the red. We got this like greenish brown Johnny over here. We got Stefan. We've got Uffelgard over here. We've got Yi in the red over here. We got Spectrum moving on. We got Flips here, yellow, and this bright yellow coming in, distracting and disrupting everything. Flips. You see what you're doing. You know what you did, right? And then you got John 3, 4, 5. You didn't do it. See, body language, people. That's what it's all about. All right, but yeah. So hi YouTube, how's it going? But before that, I didn't know what I sounded like in Altspace, right? And so what can happen is you can walk into the campfire if you're a new user and you're walking over and you see there's a group of avatars standing over here talking like I'm talking to Uffelgard and we're hanging out. And I said, hey, did you hear that thing about the thing that happened? Wow, right. That was wild. And all of a sudden I hear a voice and that voice sounds very familiar. And it turns out it's my voice. I go, where am I coming from over here? And I look over and then I see your avatar with my voice coming out of it, as it was in the past. And it's like you're copying me. And it makes it hard to talk to. It makes you lose your place in a conversation. It makes it hard to speak to each other, right? So fortunately, this is very easy to fix. What you're going to notice is on your headset, on the upper left side, there's two buttons. The leftmost button is the volume down button, and the one on the right of that is the volume up button. When you press either of these, you're going to see all these vertical bars appear in the air. Some will be solid, some will be clear. What you're going for is about 4 clear bars on the right side. Right, when you do this, your volume would be at such a level where where the sounds coming out of your ear straps aren't going to be picked up as easily by the microphone, and you're going to find that people start being nicer to you right away. But there's a price for this. All right, what's going to happen is you're occasionally going to have to strain to hear people. Right, but I want you to remember that you still have one good hand in the real world, and what you can do is you can use that hand. Right, you hold it up and cup it to your ear like that. Right. And you try it now. Hold your left hand up to your ear, and you'll see, even if people who are on other devices, try this. You hand up to the ear like that, you're going to find that my voice gets louder, right? It's a way to temporarily increase the volume. And but one thing that'll absolutely solve it is if you get a pair of headphones and attach them to your device, right? In my case, I got a pair of inexpensive earbuds. My wife went to the library and she got this audiobook, and they gave her these free earbuds for free. She came home, she showed me, and very sadly, they mysteriously disappeared. But the good news, they appeared a short time later attached to my headset, and they remain there to this day. She called it stealing, right? I said I was solving a problem creatively. Creative acquisition, that's what I called it. It's not stealing at all, but I solved it. And what happened was after that, the only voice coming out of my avatar was my own, right? And it can be that way for you too if you just attach some headphones or some earbuds like that. Occasionally, you'd still hear my wife saying, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" But we solved that problem too by getting her own headset. She comes in, she helps us moderate. It's a very gifted world builder, and Altspace is lucky to have her. But this got me thinking, what else could I add to the device that was going to improve its performance? And it came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. Now, I call it this because I started lasting longer in worlds that were heavy performance, and other Go users would fall into the floor. They disappear as they crashed, right? But I would remain. It would still get it would get a little choppy sometimes, but I wouldn't crash. My device became super reliable just by doing these things I'm about to talk about, right? And before I can talk about them, I just want to say the product. To talk about them, how I did this, I'm going to have to discuss these products behind me, and I want to make sure you guys know that these aren't the only products that work. It's the ideas behind these products that matter. So if you find another brand or a better price or something, go with what works for you and come back and tell us about it, because we love hearing like different approaches that people take to solve some of these problems, right? And now the temptation is going to be to write this stuff down if you want to try any of these out. We made it super easy for you to find this stuff. You can go to altvr.com and you can go in the upper left where it says channels, and you're going to see all these Altspace event channels listed out in front of you, and down toward the bottom, you're going to see where it says Ravenhall events, like it says on the sound booth up there. If you click on that, you get taken to our event page. On the left-hand side of that page are all these products, right? So you'll be able to try them if you want to. Also down at the bottom, you got a join Discord button, so you can, hang out with us, ask us questions if you need to get in touch with us, help us put on events like this. Also in the upper right of that page is the most important button on the internet, the subscribe button. And when you press that, Altspace knows that you enjoy our content. But most importantly, it makes us feel good. It's a great way to say thank you if you enjoy our content, because we don't get paid to do this. And it's like, feels good whenever that number goes up, right? All right, so that's a cool thing to do. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find these links in the description below the video. Any Go Time video, you'll see it right at the bottom there. All right, now, so what these products are is you have the Anker PowerCore battery pack, because I wanted to address my power issue first. Oculus says it's not a good idea to use our devices while they're plugged in, but they say you can use an external battery pack, so I started there. This one's supposed to last 16 hours. I didn't think I'd ever need to be in VR for that long, right? Because, I like sleep and water and food and things like that, right? But what this does is supposed to solve the power problem. And around the time that I got it, I started to hear that people on Go's were starting to have issues charging their batteries, right? And I think the reason for this is, have you ever noticed when you go to charge a device how tight that port is, right? It's very tight. And I began to worry that, over time, that would loosen and then it wouldn't make proper contact and it wouldn't charge as effectively. And I thought that's what was going on. And that's what led to this middle product here. This is a MagSafe cable. One tip plugs into the battery, one tip plugs into your headset, and it's held in place by a magnetic connector, which is a great safety feature. Because if you turn your head while you're in VR and it pulls on that cable, your headset's not going to slide down as your world turns upside down, right? What's going to happen is the tip is just going to fall off, and you don't even have to come out of VR to fix it. You can just pick it up to the side of your headset, hold it there, and like thunk into place, right? And when it does, it'll make this sound. If your microphone's open, and all your friends are going to go, "What was that?" And you'd be like, "That was power. That's what that was." You don't have to do that. It's not going to make it work any better, but it's just something I used to do. If you want to do that, carry on that tradition, feel free. All right. Now, when this actually did solve my power problem, right? But this led to a new problem, all right? And that's overheating. I'm sure a lot of you experience this where your device overheats, right? Anybody here overheat, like ever, on your Oculus Go? Right, I'm seeing some nods. Okay, cool. All right. So what can happen is, when you're overheating like that, I've heard some people use ice packs to address this, and I think that's a bad idea, because when you hold up that ice pack right there, you're going to get condensation inside your headset. That's water and electricity on your face. Probably not a good combination, right? And the people I know that tried this ended up going through more than one device, right? One great solution is this AC Infinity mini fan, right? It's USB, so it plugs right into that battery pack there, right? You want to make sure that the silver part is facing your faceplate. It's real small. It fits in the palm of your hand. And you want to attach it to the front of your headset, because the front of the headset that's actually where the device is supposed to cool itself, and it's installed by hand. So people experience different things. Like some people overheat every 20 minutes, some people overheat. I never got it overheated every 2 minutes. The first Go Time we ever had, we opened up the floor for questions at the end, like we always do. And and the first question we ever took at Go Time was somebody that had a device that was overheating so bad that the side of it became pushed in. It became all deformed from it, right? Because of the heat. And this made me nervous. I knew this was a problem that we had to solve. So this led to this fan here. And what you want to do is you want to make sure the silver part faces the faceplate, and you got to figure out a way to attach it. Some people use strings. For me, I acquired creatively some hair bands from my wife. Again, she called it stealing, but they worked. I put it on the ear straps there, and I crossed them over the front and wrapped them around these round rubber feet, and I came into Altspace to test it. right? I went to the meditation event in Altspace. That space is really great. It's on top of a mountain. There's like smoke coming out of the bowls. There's, sunlight coming down through the fog and all that. It's a really great space. It's an incredible experience. And for some reason, whenever I was there, I would always overheat 20 minutes into the experience. It never failed. It was always 20 minutes, right? And so, I went there and I had all these wires coming down from my headset. It takes a little bit to get used to that. I felt like a Borg, if you ever seen Star Trek. And I came up to the event host, Jeremy. He's a really nice guy. And I asked him, I said, listen, can you hear my fan going at all? So you got a question there? We're almost there, Ben. Just hang on to that. We'll be taking them at the end. We're almost there. All right. So, but I asked him, could you hear my fan? And he says, not at all. So I turned it up to medium, right, to see how it did. And, I said, can you hear this? He says, a little bit, but it's not so bad. And I said, okay. So I turned it up to full blast. And he says, before I could even ask, he goes, I could definitely hear that. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I turned it down to the lowest setting, and spoiler alert, I never had to turn it up again. What happened was, I went through the event, 20 minutes came and 20 minutes went, and I didn't overheat. And I'm wondering, wow, that's great. Where's the limit? The event finished. I didn't overheat at all. So I went to another event, and I didn't overheat at that event either. And then I went to another event. That's 3 events in a row, and I didn't overheat once. After that, I went back to my home space. I was hanging out with my friends, and then it happened. I left Altspace for the very first time, not because I was tired, not because I ran out of power. I left Altspace by choice because I wanted to. And that was the first time ever since I've been in Altspace that had ever happened before. Right? And it wouldn't be the last. After that, I was all over the place. I started moderating everywhere. I started hosting everywhere. I was all over the place, and my device was super reliable, and yours can be too. All right, all you have to do is make a few small changes, and none of this is very expensive. The mini fan here, this is about $10 or $11 US, right? This MagSafe cable, about $7 US, and this battery pack up there is the most expensive part up there. It's about $30 or $40 US. They come in different sizes, colors, and capacities, and you can find what works for you, because maybe you're not going to be spending all night in Altspace. Maybe you're only going to be in for a few hours, and you get by with a smaller battery, right? But the stuff does work, and try it. But that's not to say that's going to solve all the problems in Altspace. There's still going to be some, and they're easy to manage. These are more like annoyances. The first one I'm going to talk about is, let's say I'm in a campfire, right? And I'm hanging out with Dorian and a few friends, and I turn left to say something to Dorian, but instead of turning left, I go straight. And I think to myself, well, you know what? That was weird. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to turn left. And then, I turn right to say something to Yi, but instead of turning right, I go straight again. And I'm like, well, that was weird. Now I go to back up so I can see it both a little bit better, but instead of going backwards, I go straight again. And I start to panic, and I start bashing on the buttons. No matter what I do, I keep going straight. And the next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. There was nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. And I was in there, and I saw things. I saw the past. I saw the future. I saw things about user accounting and development. It keeps me up at night thinking about this stuff. But listen, I can't even talk about it really. It gets me. But what I can talk about is how to fix this if this happens to you. What you want to do is you want to take your thumb and swipe it either from right to left or left to right. The direction doesn't matter. Don't put down a lot of pressure. Don't push down on it. Just gently glide your thumb across the trackpad. Then lift it up into the air and cross over to the other side and glide it again. All right? You're going to do this 2 or 3 times. So if I'm walking along, right, and all of a sudden I go to turn, but instead of turning, I go in a direction I don't want to, then I'm just going to go on reflex, and you build up a habit after a while. I'm going to go swipe, 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 and then I'm going to turn in the direction that I want to. All right? And that'll take care of that. It kind of resets the touch on the touchpad, right? Another thing you're going to have happening now and then is you're going to put your headset on. You're going to see an alert that says can't find controller, right? Now, this can happen when you don't have, a fresh battery in your controller, and you're like, no, I put a fresh battery in that last night. That's not what's going on. And now, you know what? You're right. Because occasionally this can happen where they stop talking to each other, right? They become unpaired. Maybe the controller found out about your headset's secret life and isn't happy about it, right? And so they've stopped speaking. What do? Well, good news is you don't have to take your headset off to fix this, right? All you have to do is remember 2 words: double down. Those 2 buttons just below your trackpad, if you press and hold those down together for about 4 seconds, this little white light's going to appear on your trackpad. And when you see that little white light appear right there, now if you have your headset on, you're not going to see that. But what you will see is as soon as you lift your thumb back up, is you've got your hand back, right? And you go right in that load screen, and now you're going to be on time for your event, right? You're going to be, if you're running late at the time, something like that. And if that happens to you, you're welcome, man. Because, now you're going to make it in, right? And that's how you get your hand back if that happens. And also occasionally, listen, Altspace has made a lot of changes to improve performance on mobile devices in recent times. So this doesn't happen as much, but occasionally on all, not just on the go, but all mobile devices, you're going to notice that your screen goes dark from time to time. And the reason this happens is you see everything that's in this room here, this rug, all of you avatars here, this stage, and this big red shiny button, right? This button's awesome. We use this at the end of our events, right? We have a special effect coming for you guys, so hang up to see that. But all this stuff stays inside your headset. So while you're, as cool as this special effect's going to be, right? Maybe in about a half hour or so you're going to be in the campfire. You're not going to be thinking about go time anymore, but your headset still is, right? And this is all going to stay in your headset, right? And the best thing you can do, right, in the middle of a conversation, your screen goes dark because your memory fills up. The best thing you can do is get ahead of this before it happens. So when this event is over, and you say, what do you want to do now? And your friend says, let's go to the campfire, right? Okay. Well, what you want to do is you're going to say, I'll be there in a minute, right? And then all you do is press that bottom eject button on your controller, right? And then hit quit and then restart the app, come into Altspace. This serves to clear out those temporary files, and this allows you to control when it happens. So if you just, jumped across 3 different worlds and now you're about to go to the campfire, it might be a good idea to restart the app. This way your screen's not going to go dark mid-conversation when you're talking to your friends. It's a way of getting ahead of it before it happens. All right, I see I'm running a little bit over on time. I normally give world building tips here. If you guys want to hear that, show me some hearts and I'll do that bit. Otherwise, I'll go right to the questions and comments. Hearts, okay. See 2 people for it, 3 people for it, 4 people for it. Okay, cool, we can do it. All right, I'll try to be quick about it. All right, now, I used to moderate for an event called Building Worlds. They would have from time to time in Altspace. And I would, occasionally when I was there, I would hear a lot of Go users say that they couldn't build worlds on an Oculus Go, and it's simply not true. These devices are capable of remarkable precision, right? But where do people get this impression from? Well, what happens is when you first start working with the world editor, if you have the world's turned on for your unique settings, right? What you'll notice is when you start to interact with an object, when you're holding the object in the world, you're going to notice it's going all over the place. And it can take a while to realize that it's your head that's controlling the movement, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to keep a level head in any reality, let alone a virtual one, right? But what you can do is if you point at you'll notice on the world editor, there's a checkbox to the bottom that says lock rotation. And when you click on lock rotation, what you can do is now when you point at an object to edit it and you squeeze it in the trigger and release it one time, now you can adjust the level with your hand. And when you get it somewhere you like, you can now squeeze and release the trigger again to lock it in place. Right now that's locked in place and you're like, oh, that's pretty good. That's a nice level hand there. What we can do now is you can squeeze and hold the object, right? And while squeezing and holding that trigger, what you can do is you can swipe your thumb on the trackpad from left to right, and that'll cause the scale or the size of the object to change. You can swipe your thumb up and down on the trackpad and it'll push the object away, or it'll pull it close to you. Or another thing you can do is you can carry it in your hand while squeezing the trigger where you want it. So let's say we put it on the edge of the stage right here like this, right? And all right, look, that doesn't look so good. But on the Oculus Go, all you have to do is get it close enough, right? And once you get it close enough, you go into the world editor and you're gonna see there's a cogwheel there. When you press on it, there's a cogwheel next to where it says laser pointer, and you'll see a panel open up with all these numbers. There'll be numbers for, for rotation, for position. There'll be numbers for the scale or the size. And what you want to do is you want to play and experiment with these numbers in small increments and watch what happens. Like right now, it says that the position has an X of 20, and we change that number to 19. And all of a sudden, when we press OK, it jumps over here. Right now, I know that any object I place in the space, if I lower the X value, it's going to move it in the direction of those windows there. That must mean if I raise the number, it's going to go in the direction of that wall over there, right? And that must mean if I change the Z value, it's going to move either toward the stage or toward that back wall there, right? Or that bar area, right? And the Y-axis is always up and down, right? Okay, so remember that. Now I know that little pad they give us to type on can be, kind of difficult to type all these numbers out on. You know that we're messing each other, right? That little keyboard, you're pecking messages out with the one hand. It's a little tough, right? But you know what? It turns out just like playing a video game, right? When you first get a video game, you're thinking about the controls, right? But after about a week of playing, you're not thinking about the controls anymore. You're thinking about how to save the world. You're thinking about how to crush your enemies. That's a great way to spend a Wednesday. So it gets easier and easier the more you do it. And before you know it, you'll be making incredible worlds. There's a lot of really amazing worlds that were built on Oculus Go's. As a matter of fact, when this event's over, we take everybody flying to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. And, when we go out there, we have special effects that takes us there. And there you can, fly these down hovercrafts. And that world was built in less than 2 days on an Oculus Go. All right. And there's links to other worlds there where you can get an idea of what these Go's are actually capable of. All right. So it gets a cool idea to do it that way. Right now, we are going to be opening up for questions now. So you're going to notice that a raise hand button is going to appear in your lower right, as if by magic. Right. So you go ahead and press that raise hand button. If you have a question, I've been seeing hands pop up there. So in the meantime, while we wait for that list to fill up, if you're on Twitter and you want to follow us, you can find us at Ravenhall @ Uncanny Valley. I know that looks like 1 underscore, but it is actually 2. All right. So let's see, who do we have on the list here? We have, let's see here. We have Just a Dream. Just a Dream. You're on the air. I get to feel like a radio host when I say that. Let's see, you're not going on the air. Why are you not going on there? There we go. Just a Dream. How's it going? Cool colors.
Hello.
What's going on? Hi.
It's also good, thank you. I have a question.
What's the question?
Is there any way to connect a musical instrument, digital, let's say a keyboard, to the Oculus Go without playing in front of a speaker?
Well, they have a variety of Bluetooth possibilities under experimental features. I know of some people that have gotten a keyboard to work, a typing keyboard, not a musical keyboard. So you might want to experiment with what's possible there. But right now, I don't know of any music peripherals that you could use for the Oculus Go at this time. It might be worth writing Oculus about because that might be something they want to develop and look into there. So but
Okay.
offhand, I don't know of any device that do that. But get creative because actually, I do know from the SDK meetup that they have at Altspace, there's somebody that actually made a guitar in VR that's actually playable in VR, right? We also saw a couple of weeks ago somebody brought in a piano keyboard that was actually playable in VR, right? So there are options. You just might have to be creative about how you find those options. All right. So let's see who else do
Okay.
we have here. We have.
Thank you.
Let's see. No worries. Let's see. We have Ben. Ben, what's going on? Ben, you have a question? You're on the air. Where are you, Ben? I don't see you, Ben. Ben, speak to me. Wait, I have to press it again. No, it looks like you're on. Ben, where are you? Anybody else hearing Ben? There you are, Ben. You're gonna have to press that consent button. It looks like you're unmuted. Okay, I'm not hearing you. All right, you mute yourself again. All right, let's try that again. Ben, speak to me. Anybody else hear Ben, or is it just me? All right, Ben, we're not hearing you. You may need to re-enter the space. You may need to restart your app. We're about to roll out, so stick around, and then maybe when we get over to the next space, you can ask me a question then, okay? All right, now what we're going to do now is we're going to unmute everybody because I like hearing the reactions and see this for the first time. Looks like we already are unmuted, so thanks for doing that. But we're going to press this red button here. When we do, right, you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft fly down the road here, and it's going to go up over those trees and land in the yard and take us over to Ravenhall Flight Academy. And you can actually fly the ships if you want to. All right, so here's an idea of what one looks like right now. Just direct your attention out that window.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
There it goes. All right, now if we go out the back door here, we can join it. I don't know why he flips his face in the corner. I don't know what's up with that. Flips, you okay, buddy? You all right? Okay, been working it out. You're thinking about it. I get it. All right, so we all head out the back there. We're going to, meet the Talon hovercraft and, head on out to the academy. So let's go. Should be coming down now. Let's see. Here it is. Landing. It's going to pop out a portal. Here it comes.
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. You've been a great audience. I'll see you at the academy. I'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.